Every day I think about you both, and I wonder what you would say if you could see me now. Mom, Dad, would you be proud of your son if you could see what I've become? Would you cheer me on? Or would it scare you to death to know that your son is a vigilante? Dick Grayson and Jim Gordon swing through the city of Gotham and arrive at Councilwoman Noctua's office. The former Nightwing thinks that Jim may have changed his mind about the Robin kids, but Batman corrects his new ally. He's not changing, just adapting. Jim had to do a lot of adaptation in his years as a police commissioner. The city does that to you. Vigilantism is illegal, but that's a law Gordon learned to see as bent. Grayson comments that he always thought Jim wanted him in child protective custody back when he was Robin. Up on the GCPD rooftop, Gordon would never address Robin, only Batman. Jim doesn't deny he was always uncomfortable with the idea of the Dark Knight working with a teenage partner. It reminded him of the stories of child soldiers overseas. But then Jim would remember reading about stories of young Jewish boys organizing themselves to fight the Nazis in Poland. Back then, their home was under siege, and they wanted to defend it. Gordon never got comfortable with the idea of Robin, but he learned to adapt. Looking through Noctua's office, they confirm that she is indeed behind the cage. Sure enough, the prison is no police facility and doesn't conform to any government regulations. Grayson comments that this was all built using the same method that they always use when they want to build something shady, by hiding it in plain sight. Spying owl statues throughout the office, he says it seems like the Grey Son of Gotham has an appointment with some birds. Meanwhile, Gordon goes to check up on the kids locked within the cage. Over in the prison facility, the Robins are worried. Damian is still trying to escape, but to no avail. Something above them is controlling the prison mechanism and is preventing their escape. Meanwhile, Tim Drake and Jason Todd have been let out of their cages. A Talon brings them forward and asks the Robins if they really dare to think of themselves as birds. He says in reality they are all just worms, but at least worms with the honor of witnessing their search for the new Grey Sun. Duke is confused at these words, and Damian explains it's all part of some legacy that goes way back with the Owls. The Talon announces that Tim and Jason are to fight to the death. Last man standing gets to take a rightful place with the Owls, and if either of them holds back, they will start executing the prisoners. The two share a meaningful look with Damian and begin to fight. They get into a grapple with one another, and Tim manages to punch Jason in the head, but the Red Hood claims he's been hit harder by D-grade villains and tackles Red Robin to the ground. They continue their fight, but Damian notices something in their movements. The boy can hardly believe what he is seeing, and even stifles a laugh. These crazy bastards are pulling a Grayson. The Red Hood grabs Tim and hurls his successor high into the air. Thinking fast, Damian orders the Robins to stick their hands out, and they catch Red Robin. They throw him from one cage to the next, and Tim makes it to the top. Jason cheers at this, but he is attacked by the Owls, so Todd leaps into battle, unconcerned. Up above, Tim dodges some gunfire and manages to unlock the cages. The Robins strike out at the Owls and are free. The group manages to clear their way out of the prison and onto the rooftop, but they are greeted by more Talons. The Robins are informed they are all about to die. Hello and welcome to Comic Island. My name is Arden, and this is my recap and review of We Are Robin number 7. Well, last review, many of you probably heard me somewhat begrudge Detective Comics number 47. It wasn't bad or anything, I just didn't feel like it had anything spectacular involved in the story, nor did it really stand out in comparison to the rest of Robin War. Well, with We Are Robin number 7, that couldn't be farther from the case. Now the art is a bit of a sticking point with me, a lot of it feels lackluster, but even then it has tremendous strength at times, especially with conveying some of the facial expressions. I really felt for Damian in this panel, looking on as his friends are about to fight to the death. I don't know, even though they kind of pulled back from the whole fight to the death thing really quickly, even then this moment kind of stuck with me. Damien was afraid of what was going to happen to his friends and powerless to stop it. I don't know. It was a good moment. But any concerns I have about the art doesn't really matter in comparison to the issue's superb writing. Lee Barmayo, a writer I admit I am completely unfamiliar with, does a really good job here. Not only does he write every one of these characters very well, but he has a lot of very clever dialogue and narration. It ties into the whole idea of Robin in the first place, which has always seemed a little off to me. I suppose these thoughts happen to every Batman fan at one time or another, really, as it's hard not to wonder if putting teenagers on the front line of a criminal war makes any sense at all. As this comic points out, it at best feels like child endangerment and at worst feels like using children as soldiers. Robin has always kind of been one of those little idiosyncrasies of Batman. You know, one of those things that doesn't really make sense in real life, but more or less works in the context of this fictional world. But this comic actually presents the whole idea of Robin as something more than that. I've never really thought of that little comparison they made to young Jewish boys rebelling against the Nazis in Poland. In hindsight, it's a rather simple comparison, but one that really works. These were people who saw something wrong in their life and wanted to fight for a better situation, which more or less fits exactly what Robin has always been. It works in my eyes to illustrate that it's very easy to be dismissive or overprotective of children and teenagers when they have a lot to offer and say. They can contribute, they can be responsible, they can bring something to the table that an adult otherwise might not. And We Are Robin serves as a wonderful reminder of this. And maybe, just maybe, Robin as an idea and a character can actually make a lot of sense. That's amazing because we rarely get proper justification for why Robin, a child or teenager with no powers and no extra abilities beyond his own training, can work as a legitimate superhero without making Batman or the rest of the Justice League look like crazy, abusive sociopaths. But they do it, they justify this, and in kind of a way that makes sense to me. Okay, anyways, I'm rambling. But I really like this comic, and I'm looking forward to the next part, Robin, Son of Batman, number 7. So stay tuned for that, let me know what you guys think in the comments section below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and keep reading comics.